Good morning. Today we're going to be finishing a little project that's been on our list for a while.
Started it back in Tennessee.
Yes. Yes. We're going to be going up on the roof. We'll take you up there. And our Starlink antenna is one of the permanent mount antennas. So we have it permanently mounted on our roof.
Which we're going to do this project, and then afterwards we're going to come back here and we'll talk real briefly about, you know, the two main options: the mounted in motion Starlink antenna we have, and the kind of the mobile antenna you can move around your campsite option that others have chosen.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about which one's best.
Yeah, so we have it mounted in a specific spot, and our objective today is actually lower it a couple inches. And recently we were in Tennessee at our friend Lori and Cam's. Actually, it's been a few months ago now. And they Cameron fabricated a piece for us that we need for
4
this.
brackets to lower it down. You'll see the antenna is mounted on some roof brackets, and the way it's mounted now, there's very few places I can fit it because of vents and the fan and the air conditioner and our small footprint we have on the roof as it is. So the place I could put it, it's actually, you know, it's an expensive antenna, and it's sitting probably slightly higher, maybe a ½ inch higher than the air conditioning, and it's behind it. So it's actually the tallest thing on our roof, which,
yeah, we don't like that.
I wish it was a little lower. You know,
yeah.
I'm pretty good at judging, you know, heights, but there's just sometimes you're going over branches, and I know branches are kind of going over the roof. And
it never used to be the high point. The high point used to be our air conditioner when we had the stock one that came with this camper. And while we're in Tennessee that same time, we swapped out the AC for a different AC, and it's much lower profile.
Yeah, go back and watch a couple months ago, our Rec Pro air conditioner if you want. It's been a game-changing air conditioner for us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's lower now. So
yeah, it's a very low-profile air conditioner, and so now my antenna is higher than that. So Cameron looked at the brackets and thought, well, if I weld these little pieces of angle metal together, and you can mount these here, and then it'll lower the brackets down, and it actually lowers the brackets about 2.5 inches, just barely above the roof line. So now we're about that far below the air conditioner. It doesn't seem like much, and maybe it's just in my mind I feel better this way, but anyway,
either way, let's head up on the roof. We're headed out to our friend Lyle and Diane's house. They're going to help us out with this little project. So we'll meet you out there, and we'll meet you up on the roof. Okay, mission accomplished. Now, I went through that pretty quickly because nobody else is going to have that same setup that we have, so it's not really a how-to. We're just more or less showing you how we did that.
But hopefully maybe you have something similar, or this gives you an idea of how you can do something kind of outside the box thinking. And
yeah, and thank you to Lyle and Diane for letting us hang out there and get this project done.
And Cameron and Lori.
And Cameron and Lori, for sure. Yeah, we couldn't have done it without those pieces. Okay, so let's discuss. At the time we bought our Starlink antenna, I think it was December, or it was probably January 23. The options were, of course, the residential one, and then the mobile one that you plug in and you can set it out at your campground.
Original.
Yeah, the original mobile one.
Yeah, and a lot of people have that, and
we did consider that.
And in fact, we were going to get it, and then we heard that they're going to make the permanent mounted one for the roof that works in motion, and you don't have to like set out. And I think in a perfect world you could do both, but the best version is depending on you and how you travel and how you
course.
camp and where you camp. Because some people look at what we did, and I can't believe people would buy when they mount on the roof, because they always stay places where they're wide open, or they're in a place where they can set 100 feet of cable out and always have service. Whereas we like to have access to the Starlink while we're driving.
Yeah, so how we do that, we leave the Starlink plugged in back here, and our inverter is off, so there'll be no power to the actual satellite. And if we're driving along and I need to get the internet for maps or for whatever reason, I can go on my Victron app and turn on our inverter, and that will automatically power on the antenna because we've left it plugged in. So I could do that all from the front seat, which is really cool.
Right.
We use that quite often.
We do. And also, if you're maybe like us lately, been spending a lot of time in an urban environment, we're spending time in our mom's driveway, we're spending time at our son's place in Portland, Oregon, street side parking, or our son in Vancouver, Washington, street side parking. Well, you don't want to be stringing an antenna cable out of the sidewalk, and
yeah.
you know, this way we just turn on, we have it. So there are times where the mobile one's going to give you more options for service. So if you're so it may be that the way you travel and camp, that's going to be the best option for you to always be able to just put it where you want it. We would prefer to lose out on those times, not have service, to have it towards just permanently mounted. Don't think about it. Don't have to let the antenna out on the street.
Don't have to store the antenna somewhere.
Don't have to store it.
Because it is pretty big. So.
And to be honest, we've had this on the roof
about a year and a half now.
Yeah. I mean, I can count on my hands how many times we were parked and couldn't get service.
Yeah, it's not a lot, and it's really interesting. We've been in some pretty thick areas with tree coverage, and we've still been able to get out. So it's not as obvious as it might look. Yeah,
you don't know. I guess you don't know where the satellite is or depending on the part of the country, and because sometimes we've had a surprisingly open view,
and it's been
we're not getting Starlink, but if you look over, there's a wall of giant fir trees, and the satellite's probably on the other side of those trees, and it's been very weak or slow service. But just having a branch or something hang over hasn't really affected it that much.
Not too much.
It just seems to in some places, I think must be more than one satellite, because it'll go through this
like calibration.
The calibrating thing where it starts out where your service is bad, and it just keeps calibrating, and pretty soon you've got a decent service, or decent enough.
Yeah, we're not too picky, but this has really been reassuring to have, especially right now with some family stuff going on. We want to be out, living our life, but we want to make sure that we're available for a phone call or available for a message if there's an emergency. So that's definitely reassuring to know that we would always be able to have service.
It's been game-changing, and I can't imagine going back without it.
Well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No, it's like anything really with the modern world. It's like, 10 years ago, I didn't need a smartphone, computer in my pocket.
No.
Now it'd be hard to go away from that back to a flip phone. You need some attention? But once you have that, I mean, it is so nice. And when there is open sky, even fairly open sky, the service is fast.
Yes, very fast. It is a bit of a power hog if we are just strictly running off our battery and not plugged in. But we do have solar on the roof, and we do have an external solar panel that we have got that we actually need to show you guys. And that seems to do a pretty good job of keeping up with our power needs.
Yeah,
We've got that.
If we're getting solar and we have our external solar panel set out, tracking with the sun all day, we're bringing in more power than we're using with the Starlink. So
yeah, now I'm wondering, a lot of people have swapped their Starlink over to 12 volt, and I haven't researched that enough to know how much power that's saving them in the long run.
Yeah,
and sounds complicated to me. I don't know how to do that. So.
Anything electrical is like the farthest thing from our forte as you can get.
It's a foreign language.
So, and I've seen some people that have kind of done some pretty good, you know, technical modifications and done that to their system. But I think I've heard that there's now at least one company that you can actually order something
like a kit
to do yourself. So if you know of that, let us know in the comments. You know, that might be something we would do.
If it was a big enough power savings.
Yeah.
For sure, but I'm curious about that. Now, if we're headed into a campground and we're unsure, like we definitely need service, it's no cell service out there at all. If there's quite a few spots open, we will not make reservations. We'll just drive in and we'll drive through and pick a spot that we'll actually turn the Starlink on and we'll pull into the spots and see where.
Yeah, so like we're going to be heading up to a campground here this weekend, and we know there's no cell service in this campground. We've been there before. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we know, because we've been there before, which sites work and which ones don't. Mm-hmm. But what she's talking about is if you would go to the specific campsite, I go to the All Stays app and click on like campground availability, like you're going to reserve a camp spot. And if there's like a bunch available for the next day or two, the odds are they're not going to all get booked up. So instead of reserving one that doesn't have service,
yeah, we just pull in, drive through and
make sure the Starlink's on. And in fact,
test out the sites.
Sometimes you get into campgrounds and everyone has pretty good overhead coverage with, you know, trees and branches. We've actually just kind of pulled into one and go, oh, we've got service, and then go reserve that one. So getting creative with it when you really need service.
Yeah, that definitely works. Now back to cell service. We have Verizon as our carrier, and I've been able to. We used to have 2 extra hotspots with us, so we would have enough for our internet needs and consumption needs, and I actually have canceled those. We no longer carry those with us because we just don't, it's not necessary with the Starlink now. Yeah. And the monthly fee for our particular setup, I think, is $150 a month. So yeah. Now is there a new I don't know, just what was available at the time we purchased ours was this in motion one, and then the portable one, and the residential. Those are the only 3 options. I don't know if there's something else new out now too.
I thought there was. I'm not sure. I'm sure they have a decent website. You can check out what the options are, but yeah. I think it's continually changing.
Yeah. So for us, I definitely see the appeal of having the one that you can put out, and maybe if we had a bigger RV where storage was not an issue and we could store the satellite and drag it out, or if we were going to be in the same spot for 6 months at a time and just set up and that's where we were living, I could see the draw to have
it's just like we've talked about before with what's the best RV. It just depends on how you travel and what works for you. Nothing is perfect, so you have to decide the pros and cons, which has more pros, which has more cons for you. And for us, having the roof mounted is definitely, I would miss that.
We use it in motion a lot. I wasn't sure we would, but we do. Yeah,
and we typically stay off the beaten path. We like taking back roads, exploring remote areas, and like I think we've said before, this trip across the country, which is like I don't know how many times, 18 times we've crossed it, east and west, but this trip across, I would say, I don't know, more often than not, we had 0 cell service.
We were out of cell service.
It was a lot. Yeah, but we just able to run the Starlink. And when we have the Renogy DC to DC charger installed, so when we're driving, that's charging the battery enough that also keeps up with Starlink. So
yeah, anyway. It hasn't been a problem at all. So for me, I definitely like the in motion for our needs right now. I'm not saying that would never change, because of course our needs also change. But I'm loving it. And it's really.
I know what you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, if we were going to be in places where you're going to be in a place where you have to like move it to find some coverage, I would do that, because you could also, if you're urban, I guess you could just
put it on your roof.
Put it on your roof, but I'd probably forget it.
Probably.
Be like bouncing 100 feet down behind me on the highway. What's that noise?
Anyway, let us know if you guys have a Starlink satellite and how you like it, what type you have, and kind of how you travel.
And if you convert it to 12 volt and how you did it.
Yeah, I'm wondering about
And if you'll do ours.
No, and if you would do it again. I'm really curious about the power consumption, if it's that significant of a reduction. So curious about that. Anyway, hope you guys are doing good. We will see you down the road. Carry on.
Carry on. Thanks for watching.
And a very special thank you to our patrons for supporting our channel. Join us over on Patreon for extra videos and more content. Check out our website or Amazon for our pistol book. Carry on.
Carry on.